Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. It's another race weekend. The NASCAR boys are at Atlanta, and pardon me, had to get a little something to wash the crud out of my throat. But yeah, more news, and it just seems like NASCAR is a sport that keeps on giving. But let's address the week's issues. I was kind of tried to sweep some of it under the rug, but well, not necessarily under the rug, but anyway, let's start with the cautions that everybody seems to be worried about, safety and all those kinds of things. Listen, I had no problem with how NASCAR handled the caution flags, whether they threw them or not, in the race last Sunday, or all weekend for that matter. They let things shake out and let the thing go. They have people monitoring all around these racetracks, so they know. And folks, listen, each track is different. It's just like, I'll put it this way. It's just like sitting at a basketball game and people screaming and yelling about what's a foul, what's not a foul, traveling, whatever. Okay, well, NASCAR officials are taking care of the race. I don't care if it's Daytona, Atlanta, Bristol, wherever. So I feel they're making a conscious effort not to throw the flag right away and let the problem evolve and see if they need to throw a caution flag or when they need to throw a caution flag. So personally, and this is me, you can respond right here, I have no problem with the way they did it. Now, this weekend is Atlanta. We got the truck and O'Reilly's. I keep wanting to call it Xfinity. And tomorrow the Cup. So we will see how this is officiated. But with that, man, I got no problem with it. You know, people were screaming about, oh my God, the safety factor, the safety factor. I don't see where anybody was in jeopardy with the safety factor of it. And especially on the last lap when they had the wreck and then they kept going, they were out of the way. They had monitored it. All the cars that were involved in the first one, when they went past the start-finish line, were out of the way. So when they come around, and listen, where that wreck happened and where the start-finish line happened when they wrecked and all that stuff, if you can't slow down or whatever by the time you get over there, and if your spotter or whomever can't tell you that there's stuff over here, whatever, you got a serious problem. That being said, let's go to the next topic that was the Daytona 500, and that was the blocking issue. Okay, so you had 3 Toyotas at the front of the field running 50%, whatever. Okay, this was to save fuel mileage. Okay, well, back in the day, you used to save mileage by sitting in the middle to the back of the pack. NASCAR has rules about race manipulation. What the hell was that? Okay, that was race manipulation because we're keeping the front, we're getting points and all this. Bubba got the most laps led, all that wonderful crap. But if you want to save fuel, get to the back, and those that want to go balls out can go balls out. That being said, NASCAR can be in the ears of every single driver out there. They can also monitor just like what Fox does, and they're running 50%. NASCAR can get in their ears and say, guys, if you want to run 50%, get in the back. They could tell them that, okay? So they can control how all this is done. So to me, some of this falls on NASCAR for not putting a stop to this after, 50, 60 laps is how long we ran around with that. Yeah. That's not a good look. Now, that being said, here we go with a little conspiracy theory. This video is going to run a little long, guys. And I hadn't thought about this, but I had a follower mention this about the race was fixed. Here we go. All right. So, who sued NASCAR last year? 2311, Michael Jordan. Okay. Who had 2 cars involved with this blocking thing going on? Michael Jordan, 2311. Who were the ones involved in the wreck at the end of the race? You had one car pushing the 45 to the win and then slid up and took out the other cars, 2311. I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. There's a lot of stuff out there with this whole blocking thing. And the other car that was blocking was who? Joe Gibbs. What model? Toyota. Who does 2311 have an alliance with? Just throwing it all out there, guys. Just stirring the shit just a little bit more. So that's what's out there. That is what's out there. So now let's go to the Natalie Decker situation. I don't have the access to all the videos throughout the years of NASCAR, but I can guarantee you that that same situation has happened before. But the fact that it's Natalie Decker, and I'm going to say this, the fact that it's a lady driver has a lot to do with it. And once again, I've heard bitching going on that Fox, we don't need to see how fast their throttles are. And I'm going to back up a little bit to that point of seeing all of the telemetry and things that, like Larry McReynolds and stuff. I would like to ask Larry this: when you were a crew chief, how would you feel if some camera was right over your shoulder with your notepad and all that kind of stuff? I got a pretty good idea. You turn around and knock the shit out of them, and they'd be off the pit box or wherever. So there is that, and I get it. This is part of the job and all this kind of thing, and this is what's out there. But I'm just saying, let's pump the brakes on some of what we all see or need to see. Okay, so back to Natalie Decker. This all to me is much ado about nothing, because I can tell you that I've seen it happen. People get involved in wrecks that shouldn't even be hitting them. What happened that he went up the track, Sam Mayer? I've in iRacing, I've had no control over a vehicle after I've been in a wreck and it slides. That's supposed to be close to true life. I've been involved in accidents in real life racing in dirt late models where things happen. They had their steering broke or whatever. They drifted across the track. It happens. It's an accident. They call it accidents for a reason. I get her being frustrated and her tirade afterwards, but here again, maybe sometimes we don't need to hear everything and they need to edit it. But this is kind of the shock factor, I think, that we're all looking, that they're looking for to make NASCAR enticing to go listen to, watch, or whatever again. Okay. Let's see. I got notes. Okay, Carson Hocevar is not racing the 42 car this weekend because it was reported he was going to do triple duty, and then with all the workload, and then he has a few comments about the where's the driver and all that kind of stuff. Fans, listen, when I raced dirt late models, we did not have the high dollar stuff that we ran against. We ran with them. Sometimes we beat them. But I will say this, and it's not in defense of Ware, and it's not criticizing Hocevar, but here's the thing. When I was racing, one of the last dirt late model races I went to, okay, we were parked amongst a bunch of big haulers, just like the Cup guys have, okay? We had our little enclosed trailer and our little operation, but a little cloud come up and it started to rain, okay? Well, I had a tote that had a car cover and some tarps in it, okay? So bear in mind, we're parked a whole bunch of haulers with a lot more money in their car and engines and stuff. Hell, there were some had more money in their engine than I had my whole freaking operation. That being said, it starts to rain. We get our car cover out. Do you know that the two cars on either side of us had nothing? So they say, hey man, you got an extra tarp we could borrow? Of course, we let them. And that's what builds relationships. But anyway, the bottom line is I have been around drivers that have moved up the ranks and sometimes think they're better than everybody else, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I've experienced that. So maybe this could be a humility lesson for Hocevar, because, it's like my dad used to say, but for the grace of God, go I, so how would he like to be in Ware spot? So right, wrong, or indifferent, I can see both sides of it, but on the other hand, maybe Carson needs to pump the brakes on his mouth just a little bit. Just saying. Lastly, before this is the last topic of the day, and I'll try and wrap this up and keep it under half an hour. Let's talk about the lawsuit between Joe Gibbs and Chris Gabehart. So there's so many facets to this that's just mind-numbing. Let's go to the aspect of the computers, okay? With as smart as Chris Gabehart is, how in the hell can you be so freaking stupid that you're going to do the things he did with transferring information to computers and all this? I'm a simpleton, and I know damn well that there are people out there. Hell, my cousin was before he retired was a computer forensics person. It's out there. So if you're going to take information, get a notepad out or whatever. But good God, that being said, again, I will go back in the day when a crew chief leaves and goes to another team. Do you think that he's just going to shut off all the shit that he learned with this car and not apply it to this car? Huh? That's what they get paid for. Now, I don't know what, I mean, and this is the thing with this stupid frickin' Gen 7 car. But if we're so anal about trade secrets and all this kind of stuff, now, let me back up and say, I understand about the pay and all the other things that's been talked about that he brought. But there again, working in different facilities and being a manager, hey, what did you do here? Well, this is what we did. As long as he's not selling it, I guess, I don't know. But listen, I don't, again, I can see both sides of it, but my God, have we gotten to the point with NASCAR that we are suing people because the information they retained, whether it's on a computer or not? It's freaking mind-numbing. You guys may not remember a guy by the name of Suitcase Jake. He was a guy that was very famous for being very good. But man, he was here 1 year. Hell, he was here a half a year, and he was gone, all that kind of stuff. And do you think anybody ever thought about suing him for his information? Larry Mack was with Robert Yates, and then he went to Richard Childress. Do you think anybody ever wanted to sue him for the knowledge he had in his head? No. So, guys, this is the way we are in this day and age. Everybody's so anal over things, and I'm going to sue you. So anyway, that's my rant for the day, everybody. I bottom line, we need to get over it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know where this lawsuit's going to go, but I was shocked that Gabehart was that. For being an intelligent guy, and maybe he did all this on purpose for some reason. Who knows? A little conspiracy theory there too. So, anyway, with that, hopefully we have a great weekend of racing. We got the trucks coming up here in a little while, and then the O'Reilly series running tonight, and the Cup Boys tomorrow. So let's see what insanity can develop this weekend. With that, everybody, as I always say, it's better to have raced and went broke than to have never raced at all. Have a great day, everybody.